In the heart of Umobi village, Adanna's deepest wish is to become a mother. But after years of disappointment, she turns to the mysterious gods of the Forbidden Forest, the powerful. Irako grants her desire, but with a chilling condition: when her son, Chukwudi, turns 12. She must return him to the forest as a servant for eternity. In the small village of Umobi, there lived a woman named Adanna. She was kind, hardworking, and loved by everyone. But she had one deep sorrow: she had no child. For many years, Adanna and her husband, Obinna, prayed for a child, but none came. The village women whispered about her. Every time she saw a baby, her heart ached. After hearing about the power of the gods in the Forbidden Forest, Adanna made a bold decision. She would go into the forest and beg the gods for a child, despite warnings from the villagers that no one who enters the forest returns the same. Adanna's desire for a child was stronger than her fear. Early in the morning, before the sun had risen, Adanna quietly left her home and walked deep into the forest. The trees were tall and thick, and the air was cool and filled with strange sounds. As she went deeper, she heard the trees whispering her name: Adanna. Adanna. It was as if the forest was alive and watching her. Finally, she reached a large, ancient tree with roots as thick as a man. The tree was called Irako, the god of the forest. With trembling hands, Adanna knelt before the tree and cried out, "Great Irako, please bless me with a child. I will do anything you ask." The wind picked up, and the leaves rustled as if the tree was speaking. A deep voice echoed through the forest. "Adanna, you shall have a child. But in return, you must promise me something." Adanna's heart raced. "Anything, great Irako. I will do anything for a child." The voice continued, "When your child turns 12 years old, you must bring him back to this forest. He will serve me forever." Adanna was stunned. 12 years. She would have 12 years with her child before she had to give him up. It seemed like a long time, and she was desperate. So, with a heavy heart, she agreed. "Thank you, great Irako," she whispered. As soon as she spoke the words, the wind stopped, and the forest grew silent. Adanna knew the deal was sealed. Months later, Adanna's prayers were answered. She gave birth to a healthy baby boy, whom she named Chukwudi. The village rejoiced with her. And for the first time in years, Adanna felt complete happiness. She loved her son more than anything in the world. Years passed, and Chukwudi grew into a strong, handsome boy. He was full of life, always playing and laughing. But as his 12th birthday approached, Adanna's joy turned to fear. She remembered the promise she had made to Irako, and her heart grew heavy with dread. Adanna tried to forget about the deal, hoping that maybe the forest god had forgotten. But every night, she would hear the whispering of the trees in her dreams, reminding her of the promise. "Adanna, the time is near." As Chukwudi's birthday drew closer, strange things began to happen. The animals in the village started acting oddly. Dogs barked at nothing, and birds would not sing. Even the villagers noticed and started to keep their distance from Adanna's home. It was as if the forest was watching and waiting. The night before Chukwudi's birthday, Adanna couldn't sleep. She knew what she had to do, but the thought of losing her son tore her apart. She decided to leave the village with Chukwudi, to run far away where the forest could never find them. At dawn, Adanna packed a small bag and woke Chukwudi. "We must leave now," she said, her voice shaking. "But why, Mama?" Chukwudi asked, confused. "There's no time to explain. We must go," she urged. They quietly slipped out of the village and into the fields, heading for the next town. But as they walked, the forest seemed to come alive around them. The trees began to rustle, and a thick fog rolled in, making it hard to see. Adanna felt the presence of the forest god all around them, closing in. Suddenly, Chukwudi stopped. "Mama, I hear something," he said, his voice trembling. Adanna listened, and there it was, the whispering of the trees. "Adanna, you cannot run." She gripped Chukwudi's hand tightly. "Don't listen, my son, keep walking." but the fog grew thicker and the whispering louder. The trees seemed to move, their branches reaching out like arms to stop them. Adanna's heart pounded in her chest as she realized there was no escape. Just then, a figure appeared in the fog, a tall, shadowy form with glowing eyes. It was Irako, the forest god. He pointed at her and said, "Adanna, you cannot break your promise. Bring the boy to me, or face my wrath." Tears streamed down Adanna's face. She knew she had no choice. Slowly, she let go of Chukwudi's hand and stepped back. "Forgive me, my son," she whispered, as the forest god moved closer. But as Irako reached out to take Chukwudi, something miraculous happened. Chukwudi, with tears in his eyes, spoke for the first time to the god. "Please, great Irako, spare my mother's pain. I will come with you, but let her go." Irako paused, surprised by the boy's courage. The god looked at Adanna, then at Chukwudi, and finally spoke. "Your love is strong, child. Because of this, I will not take you today. But remember, the forest never forgets. When the time is right, I will come for you." With that, the fog lifted, and the trees grew silent. Irako vanished, and Adanna fell to her knees, crying in relief. She hugged Chukwudi tightly, knowing that they had been given more time. But as they walked back to the village, Adanna knew in her heart that the day would come when the forest would claim what was promised. Until then, she vowed to cherish every moment with her son, knowing that each day was a precious gift. The story of Adanna and Chukwudi became a legend in Umobi, a tale of love, sacrifice, and the power of a mother's heart.